Alright, Reading Rainbow, episode 124, Someplace Else. All her life, Miss Tilby had lived in the White House by the apple orchard. All her life, Miss Tilby had tended the trees and picked and sold apples. All her life, Miss Tilby wondered how it would be to live someplace else. One morning, Miss Tilby woke up and went downstairs. Her son Wes was fixing breakfast. "Wes," said Miss Tilby, "all my life I've lived in this house, watching the orchard change with the seasons. All my life I've wondered how it would be to live someplace else. And now is the time for me to try. So tomorrow I'm leaving to visit your brother Les in the big city. If it suits me, I'll stay." "But, Mother," said Wes, "this house has always been your home. Where else would you want to live?" "I don't know, dear," said Miss Tilby. "I just know that I want to try living someplace else." The next day, Miss Tilby put her suitcase in the back of the old green truck. She hugged Wes. "Goodbye." Then Miss Tilby drove off down the road. The country road that wound around the apple orchard became a 6-lane highway. Cars and trucks rushed by. Houses gave way to tall buildings. Miss Tilby pulled up in front of Les's apartment house. It was 40 stories high. Les was waiting for her, looking handsome in his gray banker's suit. "Welcome to the city, Mother," said Les, kissing her on the top of her head. "I know you're going to love it here." "Thank you, dear," said Miss Tilby. She stood on tiptoe to reach his cheek. "It looks that way to me." Miss Tilby was happy in the city. She went to museums and theaters and stores and restaurants. She saw all sorts of people and tried all kinds of food. At night, from her bedroom window, she could see the lights of the city shining brighter than the stars. But after a few weeks, she wanted to move on. "I can see why you love city life, Les," said Miss Tilby, "with all the hustle and bustle, and so much to see and do. But it doesn't feel like home to me, so I want to try living someplace else." "Oh, Mother," said Les, stay a while longer. You haven't seen half of the city." Miss Tilby patted Les's hand. "You're a dear boy," she said, "and a lovely host. But tomorrow I'm leaving to visit your sister Tess at the seashore. If it suits me, I'll stay." The next day, Miss Tilby put her suitcase in the back of the old green truck. She hugged Les goodbye and set off toward the highway. Soon the 6-lane highway thinned out. The tall buildings gave way to houses again. Seagulls swooped and called overhead, and Miss Tilby smelled salt in the air. Miss Tilby pulled up to Tess's house. It stood on stilts at the edge of the ocean. Tess was waiting for her, wearing a fisherman's yellow slicker. The twins were waiting too. "Grandma! Grandma!" they cried. "Welcome to the seashore, Mother," said Tess. "You'll just love it here." "Thank you, dear," said Miss Tilby, hugging everyone at once. "I'm sure I will." Miss Tilby did like the house on stilts. From her window she could see far out over the ocean. She spent hours gathering shells with the twins and helped Tess cook fresh fish and chowder for dinner. Every evening Miss Tilby went for a barefoot walk along the shore. At night the sound of the waves lulled her to sleep. But after a few weeks, she needed to move on. "I understand why you love living by the shore, Tess," said Miss Tilby. "The sea is always changing, and the air is ever so clear. But it doesn't feel like home to me, so I want to try living someplace else." "Oh, Mother," said Tess, "you haven't been in here long enough. Wait until you see the wild waves at neap tide." Miss Tilby patted her hand. "You're a dear girl," she said, and you've made me very welcome. But tomorrow, I'm giving a visit to your brother Jackson in the mountain. If it suits me, I'll stay." The next day, Miss Tilby hugged Tess and the twins. She put her suitcase in the back of the old green truck and drove off down the road. The road narrowed and became twisty. Sand dunes gave ways to hills and hills to mountains. Hawks wheeled above her. Miss Tilby pulled up to Jackson's house. It was made of stone and sat on the edge of a cliff. Jackson came out to greet her in his thick woolen lumber jacket. He wrapped his mother in a big bear hug. "Welcome to the mountains, Mother," he said. "You're going to love it here." "Thank you, dear," said Miss Tilby, adjusting her glasses. "I can't imagine anything nicer." Miss Tilby loved the mountains and the smell of pine that filled the air. Every night she lit a fire in the great stone fireplace. Winter came and snow fell like a thick white blanket. Jackson's wife taught her how to ski, but after a few weeks she felt like moving on. "I know why you love the mountains, Jackson," said Miss Tilby. "You can see for miles around, and there is more wildlife than I ever dreamed of. But it just doesn't feel like home to me. I'm going to try someplace else." "Oh, Mother," said Jackson, "at least stay the winter, and you must see the mountains in early spring." Miss Tilby patted his hand. "You're a dear boy," she said, "and you've treated me like a guest. But I am leaving tomorrow." "But Mother Tilby," said Jackson's wife, whose name was Bess, "where will you go? You're tired of the orchard. You've tried the mountains, and the seashore and big city life doesn't suit you." "What is that?" "I don't know, dear," said Miss Tilby. "There must be someplace else." The next day, Miss Tilby put her suitcase in the back of the old green truck. She hugged Jackson and his wife and drove down the mountain road. Miss Tilby tried living in lots of places. She stayed in a cabin by a lake and in a fire tower high above a forest. She stayed in an adobe hut in the middle of the desert. She even spent time on a riverboat. But everywhere she went, it was the same. Miss Tilby was always happy at first. After a few weeks, she always wanted to move on. One morning, Miss Tilby put her suitcase in the back of the old green truck for the last time. Wearily, she set off back toward the apple orchard. "All my life," said Miss Tilby as she drove, "I wanted to live someplace else. Now I've tried all kinds of places, and nothing suits me." Miss Tilby had almost reached the road that led to the orchard when she came to a crossroads. There, parked at a gas station, she saw a shiny silver trailer. "For sale," read the sign in the window. Miss Tilby leaped out of the old green truck. She asked to see the inside of the trailer. The silver trailer had a cozy bedroom, a tiny bathroom, and a kitchen that folded out of sight. Miss Tilby bought it on the spot. Now every few weeks, Miss Tilby sets off in the old green truck with the shiny silver trailer attached behind. Sometimes she visits Les in the city, or Tess at the seashore, or Jackson and his wife in the mountains. Sometimes she stays in other places. And in the autumn, Miss Tilby goes back to the White House by the orchard to help Wes pick and sell apples. Miss Tilby is always home, and she is always someplace else. The end.